Mom, I can still hear you. I can hear clunking and say something before you change your mute. Just say something. No, I can't hear you. What am I hearing?
I hear it's probably Ron moving around.
No, he was sitting completely still.
Oh, there's a kind of a.
Maybe I was hearing myself through YouTube or something. It was really bizarre. Could hear clunking around, but I was sitting still and Ron was sitting still.
Yeah, clunking around is what I was hearing.
Do you hear clunking when I do this?
No, maybe just keys.
Yeah, I guess.
Quiet
Weird.
now, I think.
Yeah, maybe it was some kind of feedback.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. All of that. I'm trying to figure out what it is I want to say about things. Oh, it's showtime. Start webinar. Webinar has started. Yay, people are coming. So the Zoom link works this time. Yay. What's that? Okay. I'll leave that open because it doesn't make any noise. Hello, everybody. Look at the people. Hello, the people. Oh, I don't have the chat open. No wonder I don't feel like anybody's saying hello to San Diego. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Ann. Oh, Frances Smith has raised her hand. Frances Smith, did you mean to raise your hand? Raising hand doesn't actually do anything in our context, so. But we can see a little hand there. Oh, Mom, you vanished. She's still there. She's just invisible. Snowy where you are, Diane? It is snowy here too. We had a storm overnight, and I skipped my guild meeting this afternoon because I didn't want to have to shovel the car out. But that just means I have to shovel it out in the morning because I have to go somewhere for noon o'clock. Mom, there's something going on with your camera. We can't see your top half.
I know, I'm trying to fix it.
Okay.
But it's not fixing.
Have you switched to the camera that is part of your computer instead of the one that's?
Yes, I have, but I'm trying to fix that problem.
I see. Okay. I will stop pestering you while you work on tech support. There, you're back. Hello. Oh, I'm not recording. I'm going to start recording again. There we go. Okay, there.
For some reason,
it's 60 degrees and sunny in California. Don't recall asking for anybody's sunny weather reports.
Where in California? Near San Francisco.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh.
San Diego.
Fine. Enjoy your sun. At least we have green plants. And it's not 90 bazillion degrees in the summer. No, Megan, it is not that warm in Nova Scotia, is it? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Well, we're in the
Anything
middle
but.
somewhere here, but our snow is all gone. Thank goodness. It was really not fun. We are not set up to deal with snow out here in the Pacific Northwest.
No. Oh, we don't have drifts like that here on the island, Megan, but it's still snow, and I still have to shovel to get the car out, so I don't want to leave the house. Poor me. Talk about first world problems. Oh my gosh. Okay, enough about the weather. How is everybody doing weaving wise? This is our first office hours of the new year, isn't it? Ooh, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Mom.
Happy New Year, dear.
Let's see, before we get going with the scarf report, I would like to know what you guys have on your looms for your first New Year's project. I have deflected double weave on my loom downstairs, and I think all my other looms are loaned out or just, on pause. And I'm going to ask Mom the same question, but before I turn it over to Mom, I want to go through the spiel for anybody who's new so you know how to ask questions. If you're watching via the Patreon page, then we're not necessarily going to see any questions that you ask as comments there. You can try, and if we have time, we might switch, but we do get pretty busy with the questions in Zoom, so we don't always have time to go check Patreon as well. So if you are connected via Zoom and you want to ask a question and you are on a desktop or laptop computer, so you're using Windows or Mac or something like that rather than a mobile device, then if you jiggle your mouse around so that the menu at the bottom of the screen pops up, you'll see that there's a Q&A button down there. And if you click on it, you are able to, let's see, oops, I forgot to set the things. There we go. You are able to ask a question and also see what questions other folks have answered. So you can see if the question is already in the queue, or if you have the same question, only slightly different, you can add your own comments to a question that's already there so that we can answer both things at the same time. If you're on a mobile device, then the Q&A button is somewhere in your menus, but it changes from device to device, so I can't really tell you where it is. Sorry. And with that, Mom, what's on your looms? Oh, I know what's on your looms, but they don't. And what's on your neck?
Do you want to hear what's on my loom?
I want to, well, they want to hear. Maybe.
Well, 6 of the 10 looms in this studio now have warps on them for the Tallapalooza class. And 4 of them still have to be dressed, the looms. So.
And can you hear that buzzing sound, Mom?
I can.
Is it coming from your end? Sounded like a phone or an alarm. Anyway, okay, it stopped now. I don't think it's coming from my end, but who knows?
It actually was coming from my end. I've got my phone on vibrate, and that's what was happening. Interesting.
I was hearing it vibrate.
Sorry about that.
So Tallapalooza is
Yes.
a class that Mom and I hopefully, or Mom certainly, are going to be teaching at her place in February. And it's all towels all the time. And those warps are how long, Mom? They might like to know.
21 yards. Well, we're set up in case we have 3 full classes. I don't think we're going to get there this year because of COVID probably, but we're requiring COVID vaccines and boosters for anybody to come. And nobody's backed out. We're We're actually, one person just asked if she could attend 2 of them, come twice.
Nice. The towel.
Well, yeah, at this point you can.
So, and I don't
fun,
know, did you wind all of your warps twice as long and half as wide? I wound all of mine that way.
Yes, I did. I'm
So-
trying to figure out, you wound some of your warps in 2 pieces, 2 different colorways.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work with my trapeze. I may do a lot of swearing in the process. I mean,
Does that mean you don't usually?
No, I don't. My warps go on like butter.
So do mine, but I still swear about it. I mean,
Well-
sometimes it's a happy swear.
I mean, having 2 different leaf sticks going up and down when I'm working on the, I don't know how it's going to work.
Maybe
There's
you can take the
one,
leaf sticks out. No, you can't take the leaf sticks out. Don't do that.
no,
a bad idea.
I don't
Don't
want
do
to
it.
do that. No, honey.
I did not have leaf sticks in when I beamed a warp on a trapeze downstairs, but I was warping front to back. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I realized as I was beaming it, there are no leaf sticks in there. And then I thought, well, what do I really need them for? Everything's in order already. Just carry on. And everything was fine. So
Yes.
yay.
Well, I get to start on the last 4. I wound one of them and the others 3 you wound. I think I've got, and it doesn't matter. So
Can't they all? I thought I had them tied. Sorry, everybody. You guys are just listening to us yammer on. But I thought I had them tied so that you could put the chains on one set of leaf sticks. That you
I
could
will
insert the
I haven't
stripes where
really-
they needed to be.
I haven't gotten that far yet, honey.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out on our own time rather than during office hours.
Yes.
Okay. So scarf report. I'm going to pin you so you're big, but that means when I unpin her, we're going to be on like individual view. So if you are looking at gallery view at home, folks, you'll have to go back to gallery view, but it's worth it so that we can see her scarf big.
Okay. Well, this is a scarf that I wove in the stash weaving success class that Janet and Tian Chu had. Gosh, when was that first one? Was it in 2020?
Yes.
I'm kind of forgetting.
Oh, it was
Um,
not BC. It was DC. But yeah, I think it was 2020.
Yeah, so this is an M's and W's threading and treadling. I'll put it underneath my sample cam thing here in a minute. And I just grabbed yarns that I had, because that was one of the things in the class was to try using different yarns. And I went back and just looked at my notes. I had silk, I had cotton and rayon blend, I had what I think was linen and a cotton flake. I used a 12 dent reed, but I set them differently depending on the yarn, because they were anywhere from, let's see, one of them was about 2,600 yards per pound. And the thickest one was, 2,800 yards per pound was the thinnest. And the thickest was 1,300 yards per pound. So there's quite a variety in here. And the only thing here, I'll turn my sample thing on because it'll probably mess up my cameras for a while, but we'll figure that out. Because the main thing that happened was that when where is my sample thingy?
I don't know.
from, I don't know where it is.
Well, just hold it up then, real still and not right up against the camera.
See, I just tested this. Oh, well. You can see how uneven the hem stitching is at the bottom. And that's because the various yarns shrank at different rates when it was wet finished. But I don't think it makes that much difference. It's just kind of ripply. And the colors in it are fairly, it's kind of masculine. I'm hoping that somebody will buy it for their significant other male type person, because it's not colors that I usually wear. It's got browns in it.
I don't think that's particularly masculine myself. I mean, yes, it's good for
It could
color
be.
adverse men, but also good for anybody
Sure.
who likes those colors.
Right. No.
Yeah.
But it is one that could be worn by a man more easily than a lot of scarves that we weavers make. So that's my scarf report.
Well, thank you. It's good to see a stash scarf back again. And it's interesting to me that even with the variety of the weights of your warp threads, the diamonds look pretty uniform. They don't look like they got distorted, the
No.
diagonals, because the weft was the same everywhere.
Yeah.
And I also like, you did the trick where the few threads on either side is the same color as the weft, or is at least a color that blends with the weft?
Actually, this weft is brown. It's a kind of a brown color.
It must be a similar value then, because
but it blends in pretty well. Yeah. Yeah.
Recalling our Tien teaching, if the value is the same, then you don't see too much of the design, which means at the very edge, you don't see too much of the funny selvage goobers.
Right.
Great, thanks. Okay, we have a few questions in the Q&A. The first one, well, Bobby Hayward answered the question, what's on my loom? She says she's sampling for a baby blanket for a new great nephew. And several people said in the chats what was on their loom. There were summer and winter samples, color and weave samples, overshot pattern double weave, deflected double weave and log cabin, M&W towels, the double gradient reversible 3-1 twill cowl. That's from Tien's most recent class. And then, yeah, so that's exciting to hear. It's nice to hear about other people weaving, because I put something on my loom, but I haven't actually gone down there and woven on it much. You know, I did the thing where I established that it worked, wove for about 3 inches and thought, yeah, that works. And yeah, then I was done. But I still have several yards on there because I'm supposed to be sampling. Ann Stouffer asks, in the video you shared, that would be on my Facebook page, the Weaving with Janet Dawson Facebook page, about your double workshop, the weaver showed a black and white sample that looked like overshot with pattern, background, and halftones, but it was all plain weave. She couldn't remember what it was called. I'm assuming it was a double weave with layers crossing and intermixing. What is that structure called? Well, that depends on whether Mercury is rising or it's Wednesday or who you ask, because it's got half a dozen different names. I have been calling it overshot pattern double weave because I usually am talking about it in the context of overshot, but another name for it is complementary plain weave. That is the name you will find it under in, for instance, Weaver's Craft by Jean Scorgi. And it has other similar names. They have double weave in there, or complementary, which is with an E, not an I. It's not that you're saying very nice things about plain weave, or the plain weave is saying very nice things about you. It has to do with compliments. And in fact, it is something that I'm going to be talking about later in lieu of a book report. I have a story problem instead. So I have some of that queued up under my sample cam, and I have Fiberworks things to show you about it too. So coming back to it, but the name of it, you can find it. I most often hear of it referred to as either complementary plain weave or overshot patterned double weave. Okay. Mary Ann Drake asked for a reference to a video for correctly winding a pern for an end feed shuttle. I'm sure they're out there. If anybody else knows of one and can share a link, please put that in the chat. I have made videos on winding perns for specific purposes, but I'm not sure if I've talked about like the right shape to make your pern, but I will make one, and I will like put it on the Patreon page and maybe on my blog or something like that. I'll do that soon, because that's one of the things that I need to be making videos about soon anyway, because of reasons. So, but alas, I do not have a video for you at this moment. And I am not in a place where I can wind a pern on camera at this moment. Megan McHugh asked, in regards to what Mom and I were saying earlier about making the warp twice as long and half as wide, she said, did we cut it in half to beam on? That's an option, but I don't normally actually cut it. I usually just fold it and leave the connection connected until I absolutely have to, because I figure, you know, if it's not causing any issues, then cut at the very last possible moment. Mom, did you separate them or did you leave them attached?
Well, I've been winding these on my big warping mill, which has got a 3-yard circumference. And so there's 42 yards on there, right? From the, yep. Because I'm going to double them. Mm-hmm. Well, that's too long not to chain up, and for me, I like to have them chained to keep them organized better, and to chain, you have to chain from the middle.
Right.
You have to do that.
And that would be really hard to do on a mill if it was connected.
It's not possible.
Right.
So what I do is cut them. And I feel comfortable cutting them because on the mill, the warp is, well, I know where the middle is. I can find the middle easily. Now, when Janet sent warps, they were chained from one end all the way to the other because of her warping situation or winding situation. Well, you can't put that on the loom. So because the chain was wrong at one end. So what I've been doing is putting one cross, the good cross end, I'm going to call it, the one that will unchain properly, on my mill, and then winding it round and round and round and round and round her warp until I get to the end. And then I have to estimate where the middle is, because it's not going to work. I mean, you can't be sure when it's been off the loom like that. And then what I did do was to chain from the middle.
Oh, you didn't cut those?
I didn't. I was afraid to, because I didn't know where the middle was. So I chained from, well, how did I do that? Let's see now. Well, I unchained it all the way to the end, the bad end, quote unquote, and then I chained it up from the middle.
Oh, in one direction. So you secured
one direction.
So the other end didn't come off. And
the other end is still on the mill. And then
it's-
I went back and chained what was on the mill.
So it's not folded in the chain. The chain gets folded.
Oh, well, there's a section I left unchained in the middle that yeah. And
Right.
then I just beamed those and cut them when I got it all beamed on.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure that that was very understandable. So if it wasn't and you want to ask another question about it, go right ahead.
Right. I pasted whatever into the chat, a link to a blog post that I have made about what a folded warp is and how it works. It does not include this conversation that we were just having about what to do with the 42-yard long one, because yeah, that was a new adventure for us since I wrote the blog post. But the concept is there, and the where to tie it and what to do with it is there. All right. Any other?
It's great for warps that are symmetrical or that are the same exactly side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Not, well, yeah.
Not like this. Warps like this or warps like this, but not the ones that go like this.
True. So
one of the warps that I was winding for Mom it's black and it's white and charcoal stripes, and those are repeated or reflected, I think, on either side. But there's also these skinny little red accent stripes, and they are not mirrored on either side. They are different. So I had to get clever with how to wind that so that it could be folded and the red would show up in the right place. And that might be one of the ones that Mom has been avoiding, because
it's still in the plastic sack. I have not even taken that out.
Usually I can get creative with winding warps because only I will have to deal with the consequences. In this case, I played silly buggers with the warps, and then I mailed them to Mom.
So I get to
now they're her problem. That is her circus. Those are her monkeys. Sorry, Mom.
Goody.
Okay, any other questions you want to throw out before I get to my overshot pattern complementary plain weave double weave thingy? Nope. Okay, moving on. I'm just going to check real quick to see if anybody's stuck anything in Patreon, since I have said in theory that I can do that. Refresh. Does that make any difference? Nope. Okay. So overshot pattern double weave is just as, I've already forgotten who asked the question. Anne, maybe, described from the video that she watched on the Facebook page. It is a fabric that looks like an overshot pattern, but it's plain weave on the surface, on both surfaces. So it is actually double weave, where the colors switch from side to side to create the same kind of motifs that you get in overshot. And you can do it. This is the best thing. You can do it on 4 shafts. So it's a 4-shaft weave. We did not do this one in overshot departures, even though it's right in the same kind of concept, because it requires a different threading. You have to thread it differently, and you have to put the colors all over the place. You have to set the loom up differently, but it is possible to weave. So I'm going to turn on my sample cam and show you an example, and then I will tell you my story problem. Oh, that is quite a bit darker than it was earlier when here, let me try this. That happens if I do this. Or this? No, this? Anything. So any of this do. Oh, maybe that's good. Okay. So this is, I can't figure out where to put it. There we go. It's like one quadrant of a blooming leaf. It's a radiant design. normally you'd see it in a pattern like in this orientation, but I can't figure out how to put this under my thing so that, there we go. Okay, so this warp is both orange and navy. And I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but that is plain weave. There is not a single floaty bit there. It's not, I mean, structurally, it's not plain weave, but the surface is plain weave. There are no floats. And the other side is the opposite color. So this side, the pattern is solid blue, and the what is background, oh look, I'm making air quotes where you can't see them. What is background in the original overshot, so where there's no pattern left making a float, on this side is orange and blue mixed together. And these little bits that look like vertical stripes here now, those are your halftones from the original overshot threading, the fabric. You have the same thing on this side, except on this side, the pattern is solid orange, and the halftones you see are there like usual, and the background on this side is half orange and half blue. This did not get beat quite to square, so where it's in theory half orange and half blue, it looks more blue, because you can see it is I can get this, it's longer than it is wide, so you can tell it's not beat quite to square. There's more ends per inch than there are picks per inch, which is why it doesn't look like a perfectly balanced weave. You can do this with any overshot draft. And in fact, you can do it with any draft that has a threading that alternates odd and even. So the question, the story problem that a friend asked me was, can you do this? Well, okay, let me just read the little email that she sent me. Can you turn other types of drafts besides overshot into pattern double weave? If so, what kinds of drafts work best? She sent me some examples. She had been playing with Crackle, a Crackle design that she found on handweaving.net. And then she tried just like straight draw and point twill, and she said they were blah. So yes, you can do this with any threading that alternates odd and even. But what works best is something like a twill, where the design that shows up in the fabric is like almost an echo of the threading itself. Hopefully that makes some sense. However, a lot of times twills are really interesting, especially like an 8 shaft or a 12 shaft or a 16 shaft twill. Those of you who have lots and lots of shafts. A lot of times the interest in the twill is all in the tie-up. So you have, say, a straight draw threading or a point threading, and there's cool stuff going on in the tie-up. Well, when you do this to a draft, you replace the tie-up entirely with something very simple. And so if all of the interest of your fabric, of your cloth, is coming from the tie-up and you lose that, then you do wind up with a pretty boring fabric. It's still functionally like this. It doesn't have any floats, top or bottom, but you might not really care because it's boring. So let's see. I have some show and tell in addition. So I'm going to turn it. Well, I'll leave sample cam there for now. And I want to show you, first of all, I'm going to show you this. This is, oh, I have to share it though. I can't just say I'm showing it to you. Here is the overshot that the sample was based on. So here's the original overshot threading. And this is the same thing once this treatment has been done to it. And it's not actually all that complicated to do or to explain. So I'm going to say it once, and hearing it is not going to make sense, the first time through. So what I recommend is that if you're interested in how to do this, you make a note to come back and watch this part of the video again, because I'm not gonna go into lots of detail or try to teach you this in the middle of office hours. But for those of you who are curious and want to know how to begin playing with this, you take your overshot threading and you separate all the threads so that there's a space between each one. And after each thread, you insert a new thread on the opposite shaft, which means half the number of shafts up. So in a regular overshot threading, which is 4 shafts, you put it 2 shafts up. So if it was on 1, if the original thread is on 1, then the new thread you're inserting goes on 3. If the original thread was on 2, then the new thread you're inserting goes on 4, etc. If it was on 4, it goes on 2. If it was on 3, it goes on 1. If the original was on 3, then the new one goes on 1. Whatever is directly across the twill circle, for those of you who have taken a twill related class from me. All the original threads get one color, all the new threads get a different color. Then for your treadling, you put in a treadling that is exactly thread by thread, trompe as writ, compared to the original threading. So if you're doing this like in Fiberworks, you want to do that step first. Copy the threading to the treadling, not overshot style, just straight up twill thread by thread style. And then you add 4 more treadles to the right of your original 4 treadles, and you insert a thread after a weft pick after each original weft pick. And if your first pick was on 1, then you add 4 to it and go over to 5. If your second pick or your next pick was on 2, you add 4 to it and go over to 6. This is the following pick, the echo. Let's call it an echo, because that's really what it is. It's a parallel. So for the threading, you're not adding any shafts. You're just putting the next thread half the shafts up. For the treadling, you're adding the same number of treadles that you already had, and you are adding that many treadles to each one. So if I had 4 treadles to begin with, because we're ignoring the plain weave, then 1 goes to 5, 2 goes to 6, 3 goes to 7, 4 goes to 8. And again, all of the original threads are one color, and all of the new threads you're inserting are a new color. And there is a way to make that a 6 treadle thing. It involves stepping on 2 treadles at a time. Or you can just turn it into a direct tie-up, and then you just have 4 treadles. Easy. Now the kicker is the tie-up. So for the tie-up, for a 4-shaft one, now your tie-up, you've got 4 shafts still and 8 treadles. So you have a 4 high, 8 wide tie-up. So thinking of the first, like the left half, the tie-up that's above the original treadling, that just gets tied to treadle 1 to shaft 1, treadle 2 to shaft 2, treadle 3 to shaft 3, treadle 4 to shaft 4. The right side of the tie-up gets tied up like plain weave, starting with the even shafts. So treadle 5 gets tied to 2 and 4, treadle 6 gets tied to 1 and 3, treadle 7 gets tied to 2 and 4, and treadle 8 gets tied to 1 and 3. And then you also tie to all the same things that the left side is tied to. Okay, that's how you create a draft for overshot pattern double weave in a nutshell, without any diagrams or examples or like process to help you make any sense of it, I realize. So just a bunch of word salad potentially. But if you have, like, say, Fiberworks in front of you, or some graph paper, and you want to go back and listen to that and pause and figure it out, and pause and figure it out, then that should be all that you need to turn a 4-shaft overshot into a 4-shaft overshot pattern double weave, also known as complementary plain weave. And that, I've decided is the better name, complementary plain weave, because when you extend this to 8 shafts and you're using threadings that aren't related to overshot, it's still the same structure. And it's no longer overshot pattern double weave, it's double weave that is a complementary plain weave, meaning that the two sides are complements of one another and either side feels like plain weave.
Janet,
Yes.
I think it's worth mentioning that Jennifer Moore's books on double weave have a section in them on doing this.
Oh, good.
With
Okay.
the tie-ups, exactly how to go through the process. She uses a six treadle tie-up. So if you have one of either her new revised book or her original book, it's in there.
Okay. Yeah, and it's in Weaver's Craft issue, is it 31? I can't remember.
I don't
But
remember.
if you go to the weaverscraft.com website and you search for complementary plain weave, you should find it. And I believe you can still get copies of the back issues. And Jean does a good job of explaining it there too. So all of what I just said can be extended. Oh, let me go back to my story problem now. So that was all background. The story problem, well, I read it to you. What other threadings can this be applied to? Which ones work best? And for me, the question was, how do you apply it to more than 4 shafts? Does it work on 8 shafts, on 12, on 16, on 15? And this is a question that somebody else had asked me ages ago. And I thought, well, I'm sure it's possible. And I don't know how. And I don't have time now to figure it out. So I made time now to figure it out. And it's probably written maybe in Jennifer's book, maybe in other places, but I did not find it, or I did not look for it. I just did I prefer to reinvent my own wheels. And so I just played with Fiberworks until I figured it out. And so, yes, it is possible. And I have some examples of what I came up with in my explorations. So let me make sure I've got, okay, file, open, 1 second while I get the thingies that I wanted to show you. Okay. Share screen, Fiberworks. So let's see which one we want to see first. Window. Okay, so this is just a plain old point twill. And you have to put Fiberworks in double weave mode to see what it looks like. And so as Holly discovered when she did it, I mean, point twill, it's not boring, but it's not as exciting as, say, regular overshot is. It becomes maybe more interesting if you try cycling the tie up so that you can see, let me see, I'll move this way over here. Oh, right under the picture so that I can't see what I'm doing. That was a good idea. Let's see, cycle. I always think this is really cool. The impact of just shifting the tie up, the entire tie up or down by 1 treadle, or left or right. It's actually the same effect. It looks to me like the weaving version of a lava lamp. I wish I could make fabric that did this. I guess you could probably do it with some kind of conductive LED thread, but I don't know. That's not in my bailiwick at all. At any rate, this is a point, just a plain old point twill threading and point twill treadling. And it's what it looks like as plain weave on 8 shafts. Then I tried with points in like a pointy twill that where the points change, more like an overshot, because that's really what's neat about what makes an overshot is that it's a twill where the reverses happen not just in super regular ways. And that's this is what this one looks like, front and back.
Hmm.
And I like, this is much more interesting to me anyway. So then, and this one, it was points, but the points were all connected. So what I wanted to test next was, does it work if the lines are disconnected as long as the threading alternates odd and even? And the answer is yes. Hang on. What's happening? Where am I? What? Oh, I closed the wrong thing. Let me shrink that. All right, so here's an advance, well, yes, here's an advancing twill. And for this one, I used different colors in the warp and the weft. So again, this is 8 shafts. And it's just a sort of standard advance. And then I mirrored it and mirrored it again a few times. And I like this one quite a bit. And so the thing that's really neat about this complementary plain weave and the fact that there's no floats, this could be like an upholstery fabric or a garment fabric where you can't have any floats that might get snaggy. You can see in the treadling the shape of my original advancing threading, because remember, the first step is to copy the threading into the treadling before you parallel it. So it was a run of 5 with an advance of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. That's what produced this one. And this has got a warp that's white and black alternating and 2 different colors in the weft. And that's how I set it up for that double treble workshop as well. Not this threading, it was overshot pattern double weave, but a black and white warp. And then people could either use black and white for the treadling as well, in which case it would look like this on one side and this on the other, which is quite striking. But it's also quite effective to use 2 different colors in your weft, because each color only appears on one side of the cloth. So that was my advancing twill. And then I wanted to see, okay, I figured out, I think, how to do it on 8 shafts. Can I do it on 16 shafts? How do I have to, how do I have to adjust things to make it work on 16 shafts? And this is a 16 shaft advancing twill that it's an advancing point twill, but I put a break in there again, just to make sure that it didn't mess with the plain weave. As long as the threading goes odd, even, it does, but does not ever, it doesn't have to be connected. So it doesn't have to go to the next shaft up or the next shaft down. It can go 3 shafts up, or it can go 5 shafts up, but it can't go 2 shafts up, because then you have 2 odds or 2 evens in a row. That makes sense. And I quite like this one. And if you were to weave this in regular twill, those would be untenable floats. They wouldn't work at all. But this is all plain weave. The surface is all 0 floats. So it would still work as a upholstery fabric. And then what is this one? Oh, then I thought, okay, so I've just been looking at twills. What if I take a Bronson and do this? So the thing about Bronson is that its threading is normally 1 pattern, 1 pattern, 1, 2, 1 pattern, 1 pattern, 1, 2. So it could be, for instance, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, but that whole 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, that's all odds. So I limited myself only to pattern shafts that were even. So 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 2, and 1, 8, 1, 8, 1, 2. And then I thought, so I designed a little thingy. It's this right half. And then I thought, I'm going to rotate the whole thing. So the left half is, let's see if I zoom in, it's the whole right half, but turned upside down. So it's 8 Oh, I can't even read that. That's very, very small. So it's 8 alternating with stuff. And they're, yeah, I don't know. It's not quite what I expected, actually. But at any rate, it gave me well, that would explain why it doesn't look the same on the left as it looks on the right, but the reverse. Anyway, and then I copied that threading into the treadling, or rather, I did it before. Oh, of course, it's because the echo is in there. Oh, sorry, I'm babbling to myself now. At any rate, this is still plain weave on both surfaces, and it's based on a Bronson sort of threading instead of an overshot sort of threading or a twill sort of threading. There's no twill line here, and it works. Whether you like the design is a different kind of question. So all of these have been just like 2 colors in the warp, 2 colors in the weft. The last thing I wanted to play around with was what it's going to look like if you've got stripes in the warp. And the first thing I did, let's see if I can show you. The first thing I did was to, I took Strickler's 728. And in fact, I should show you what Strickler's 728 looks like originally, which means I need to find it over here. 728, there we go. This is what it looks like. This is what the threading looks like. I'll repeat it a few times. Okay. This is a draft that you see all the time on Facebook, in the Facebook groups. Repeat that too. But this one, the threading does not alternate odd and even. It goes, if we zoom right in, it starts out odd, 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 even, 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 and then it alternates, and then it's odd, odd, even, even, odd, odd, even, even. So my first step was to fiddle with the threading to turn it into odd and even. And I tried various things that were very not successful, and finally came up with, which one of these is? Open, sorry, open. Oh, back here again. So let's see, I'm gonna take out these first ones. And in fact, I think it's all of these ones, so that you can see the relationship between what I started with and where I wound up. There. So what I did was just where it went odd, odd, even, even, odd, odd, even, even, I just switched them. So instead of going 1, 5, 2, 6, I made it go 1, 2, 5, 6. And like that, I just made up a rule and stuck with it, and it worked. Because then what I did, let's see if I show you, this is the with colors, the 728 that Mom and I did in Towel Palooza, that same towel class, a couple of years ago. So I wanted to take these colors. This is the front, that's the back. There's really very little difference between them. I wanted to take these colors and apply them to the overshot pattern double weave. So this set of colors would be one surface, one like the original line, but the echo needs to have a different color. And first I thought I'll just put the same color on the other one. It's amazing. It just turns into plain weave stripes. You lose the twill completely, because the only thing that's creating the twill look in the complementary plain weave structure is the color placement and the color interaction. And if you make it the same on both sides, turns out you just get vertical stripes. It was bizarre. So instead I alternated it with black, and that's what And so black on one side and this teal color on the other. And I think it's quite nice. It would not make a good tea towel because now it's double weave, right? It's thick and it's not flexible, but it would make a interesting upholstery. And I'm sure we could think of it like rugs. There's no floats. So if you got the right materials, you could make rugs out of it. I think it's got some interesting applications and I like it. So there's my story problem. And now I'm going to turn off the sample cam. And I have a question. Okay, Kate mentioned in the chat that Heddlecraft, November, December 2018 also covers overshot pattern double weave. Yeah, I knew that Robin had done it. I couldn't remember which issue. And in fact, one of the, like the list of the 7 or 8 different names for overshot pattern weave was one that I had gotten from Robin because she knows what they're all called. Okay, so the second story problem was one that somebody else sent to me, and it was much simpler for me to work on. And that was, I have this 4 shaft log cabin draft that I want to fold double width and weave on my 8 shaft loom. And is there a way to make the threading just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so that it's easier to follow and I don't go crazy trying to thread my loom? And yes, there is. And it's actually, if you have Fiberworks, it's really easy. But even if you don't have Fiberworks, it's not hard. So I'm going to show you how to do it in Fiberworks. And then I will try to explain to you how I would do it without Fiberworks. And we'll see how effective my drawing pictures in the air is. So first, Fiberworks. Okay. Let's close this. And the drawdown she sent me is in my downloads. And there it is, a very cool log cabin with a solid gray stripe on the sides. So in Fiberworks, step 1 is just to go tools menu, fold double, and bam, there it is as an 8 shaft draft. It gives you the treadling, it gives you the tie up, it gives you the threading. And now it's this wide because the other side is on the other layer. That's how double width works. But as you can see, the threading is not super intuitive. So again, in Fiberworks, if you have silver, I'm not sure that shaft shuffler exists in bronze. Somebody that has bronze, maybe you can tell me. I do have a bronze demo version that I could open up and check, but I don't know off the top of my head. In the silver version, you can use shaft shuffler. And if you don't have the silver version, you can use the silver version demo to try this, but you can't save it. You can make a screen capture. So this first thread is on shaft 1. So it's right where it wants to be. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Is that how it goes? Something squeezy, some sort of citrus squeezy. The next thread, which is currently up on shaft 8, I would like that to be down on shaft 2. So with the shaft shuffler, that means I just grab shaft 8 and I haul it down to shaft 2. The third thread has just put itself on shaft 3 because I moved this other one down. And so that's all peachy. So then I grab the next thread that's up there. Now it's up on shaft 8. Doesn't matter where it is. Where I want it to be is down on 4. And then 5 just sorts itself out. And I grab the next one and pull it down right in line. And now I have a threading that will be easy to put on the loom. It is just straight draw. And the first big chunk of it is all gray. And then it goes into the dark, let's see, dark, light, light. Well, by this thread, it goes dark, dark, light, light, dark, dark, light, light, dark, dark, light, light. And so that'll be easy to thread. Now, did you notice, I'm going to undo my changes there. Oops, there we go. Right now, the tie-up makes some sense if you're familiar with how double weave works. The left two treadles are going to weave plain weave on shafts 1 through 4. If you look just at that part of the tie-up, if I can zoom in anymore, I can't. So if I look just at the part of the tie-up that is the first 2 treadles and the first 4 shafts, it now has a blue box around it. I don't know if that shows up on your screen. It's tied up for plain weave, odds versus evens. And those treadles are not doing anything at all with the back 4 shafts. So all the threads on those back 4 shafts are just going to stay down while you're weaving plain weave on the front 4 shafts. The other 2 treadles, the right 2 treadles, are going to weave plain weave on the back 4 shafts. And while they're doing that, they're going to lift everything on the front 4 shafts up and out of the way so that you're weaving plain weave on the back 4 shafts underneath the bottom layer. So the front 4 shafts is the top layer, the back 4 shafts is the bottom layer. The tie-up makes some sense. When you shuffle the shafts around, the tie-up makes less sense. But who cares, really? You're going to tie that thing up once. You're going to spend maybe 10 minutes under your loom tying it up, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. You have to spend a lot more time threading, and you don't want to screw that up, because if it's screwed up, then you have a big problem. If your tie-up is wrong, you can fix it pretty easily. The next thing I personally would look at is the treadling, because right now the treadling goes 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2 1, which is not so bad, but you've got 2 on your left foot, 2 on your right foot, 2 on your left foot, 2 on your right foot. I think of that as like inside outside with the right foot, inside outside with the left foot, inside outside with the right foot. That is harder for your brain to keep track of while you're weaving than a walking tie-up where your feet alternate, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So I can do the same little trick with the shaft shuffler in silver in Fiberworks and grab this second pick. The first one is my left foot, and that's great. The next one is my right foot, but it's the left treadle of my right foot, whereas the first one was the left treadle as well, the outside. If I pull that second pick out to treadle 4, and then I switch, well, if I just do it like that, then the treadling becomes straight draw. And maybe that makes more sense to your brain than what I'm about to show you. My brain likes a walking tie-up. So now with it like this, it goes outside on the left, outside on the right, inside on the left, inside on the right. Outside left, outside right, inside left, inside right, outside left, outside right, inside left, inside right, outside, outside, inside, inside, outside, outside, inside, inside. That is a pattern that is easier for your brain, for my brain, most brains, to keep track of. It's a walking tie-up where the order goes out to in or into out would also work. So that is what I would do that as well. So when I sent the draft back to my customer who had asked me this question, this is what I sent her: the straight draw threading and the walking tie-up that goes outside, outside, inside, inside. And when we did this same thing in Double Trouble, let's see, I have that too. Where is that? It's not there, but that will get me partway there. Oh, you can't see what I'm looking at anyway. Hang on. Let me just, oh, maybe you can. You can. Okay, give me a sec. Oh, hang on. Give me a jiffy. This was double width. Double width twill. Trying to remember what I called it for Double Trouble, because I have several double tabby. Let's go there because that's in the same directory. Double face, double tabbing. There it is. No, it's not. Wrong thing. Teaching off the grid. Shoot. Well, I can't find it now because I don't know where I stuck it. I have too many things. Oh, wait, double trouble. What's that? Nope, 2018. Okay, I give up. We did a version that took 8 treadles rather than 4, and I set the treadling up. I'm going to turn this off now. So that the treadling went 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. Outside and to the inside. Outside and alternating left and right. Okay. There. That was my story problem. So, any other questions have you got for us? Oh, Anne says it exists in bronze for Mac. That's the shaft shuffler. Good. Okay. All righty. I don't have a book report for this month. I had story problems instead, but I can tell you that I picked this one up and looked through it for about 2 minutes and thought, oh man, I wish I had time to get ready to give the book report about this because it seems like a good little baby. And maybe I'll do it for next time. If I go to like the Seattle Weavers Guild calls it their plaid llama sale. We call it like Weavers Yard sales here, or sometimes they're referred to as dead weaver sales. Isn't that awful? Because, you know, when somebody passes, then other weavers want their stuff. And what's the family going to do with it most of the time? But anyway, whenever I go to those and I see books, I pick them up and I look through them. And basically, I'm looking to see how many charts do they have and what are the names of the chapters and that kind of thing. And I must have seen this at one of those and thought, yep, that one looks like something I'd be interested in. So I grabbed it. Oh, this woman is a local weaver. So yeah, I must have come from one of those swaps. Oh, somebody else voting for this book. Oh, and this book, for those of you who are not looking at the picture, Designing and Drafting for Hand Weavers by Berta Frey. So maybe I will do a book report on that one next month. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll have a different story problem instead. Oh. Another vote from Susan Hector for that book. Good. Any more questions, anybody? Mom, do you have any questions?
No, not at the moment.
Any more story? Oh, Anne Bunn says she's enjoying Olsner's book that I introduced last month. So that's great. Yay. It's a good one. It's another one that I picked it up and said, oh, so many charts. I love charts. Any more story problems for us to work through? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. And if nothing shows up in the Q&A, by then we'll call it for tonight and come back next month. So I got to figure out what to make. Oh, we have it. Anne is asking about any more online classes planned. Well, planned, I'm going to go with no. Envisioned, yes. I'm working, Tian and I are still working doggedly away on the Hand Weaving Academy. So that's putting all of my online teaching energy in that direction right now. But I definitely want to do something on name drafting, as I had mentioned once before, well, probably more than once. And I am doing a mini workshop for my own guild on that at the end of this month, online. And I'd like to do something on overshot pattern double weave / complementary plain weave. And I certainly want to do a big class on profile drafting like I was hoping to do in January. I have many ideas and not nearly as much time or energy as is required to implement them all. So I am husbanding my resources and focusing on the academy right now, but I hope to, I hope that there will be news both about the academy and perhaps other online classes forthcoming. For now, I'm getting my teaching online fixed through these office hours. So thank you guys for giving me my fix. I'm a junkie. I need to do teaching. Anne says, I recently saw a presentation on Bateman weaves. It's interesting how he developed them. Have I ever taught a class on his weaves and or tried to draft in the way he did? I haven't. I have the Bateman book. And in fact, the Moms Guild is the members of Moms Guild, well, Moms Guild, our guild, the Seattle Weavers Guild, is the owner of that Bateman collection. And members of the Seattle Guild are the ones who compiled, edited, wrote the innovations, weaving innovations, something, Bateman, something.
Weaving innovations from the Bateman collection.
So I got a copy as soon as I could. And for the first time ever in my, at the time, 20, I don't know how many years of weaving, I thought, oh man, maybe I should get a table loom. Because at the time I did not have a Dobby, and everything in that book is 8 shafts or less, but it might have 52 treadles needed. And I don't have an 8 shaft loom with 52 treadles. And I didn't have a Dobby, but you could do them all in a table loom, which is how he did it. So I actually bought a table loom and I wove one thing on it, and have not ever woven any Bateman stuff. So no, I have never really digested it to the point that I feel like I understood it and could articulate it. I read it and I thought, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And in some parts of it, I thought that does not make any sense. I don't understand that, but I'd like to. Irma Melanson asks, what class are you teaching with Mom in February, or is it March? We have 3 sections of Towelpalooza lined up, which is the one we were talking about earlier with the 20 some yards of tea towel warps on every loom. And we could do like a roundup of the warps that are on there if people are interested, but there's 4 shaft ones and 8 shaft ones and
10 and 12 and 16.
Yeah, right, the 16, which is technically, I mean, normally you would draft that one on 20 shafts, but 20 shafts, that's a lot of shafts to lift. It's hard to make those sheds. So since it's possible to thread it on 16, we did do. So it's, it's 4 fewer shafts to lift sometimes, but it's still a real heavy beastie. That would be a good one to put on a counter marsh loom if we had one with 16 shafts, which we don't. And then after the 3 sections of Towelpalooza, then there's a week of fundamentals, which is, this is a loom. The up and downy bits are called shafts, and the back and forthy thing is a shuttle, and the front and backy thing is a beater. So it's just like learning from the ground up. And after that is a course that is still officially to be determined. It was going to be a deflected double weave class, but the COVID numbers are very bad, and Nova Scotia is headed for lockdown again. It is really not good here with Omicron, and yes, it's true that the cases aren't as serious, but it's a Boolean thing. If I go and I somehow catch it on the plane on the way, then even if it's not a bad serious case, I still can't teach. And I've exposed mom, so she can't teach. Whereas if I just stay home where I am, she can still do Tallapalooza and fundamentals on her own. So we're still, waiting, playing a waiting game. We haven't officially said yes or no on the March class yet, but I also don't have tickets yet, and I am not rushing out to buy them because the airlines are canceling flights already. That only one route is flying out of my city anymore, and yeah, so So if we were to do it, it would be on deflected double leaf. And mom is still going to do, whether I can be there or not, mom is going to do Tallapalooza and fundamentals. So those towels are there and waiting for anybody who can make the trip and not get my mom sick. Please don't get my mom sick. She's the only mom I have, and I love her very much.
I'm not going to get sick.
No, it's nice. I read something. It was a newspaper article. They were talking about Canada is maybe going to do away with the testing of people as they get off the planes coming into the country, because they just took tests on the way onto the planes. So why do them again as they get off? And the comment was something like, it's far more likely that the next 100 people to walk into the post office have Omicron than the next 100 people to get off a plane. Anyhow, Anne has asked for a roundup of the Tallapalooza warps. So let's see. What's the best way to do that? I have pictures somewhere. Give me a sec, Anne, to find those. Do something entertaining for a minute, Mom.
Well, I wish I could show them on the loom, but I don't know how I could do that really. I've been putting them on and then testing. After I spread the warp, then I test I weave about 3 inches or so to make sure the threading is right and the set is right. One of them I'm going to change the set on because it's too spread out.
Oh, why are those so blurry? Give me a second. That's better. Okay, so I'm finding some, sort of. Hang on.
Are you looking for your Fiberworks drafts?
I'm looking for the pictures. I put them on the Facebook page, I think.
Oh, you mean the pictures of the ones that I sent you?
Oh, give me a jiffy. Give me a jiffy. Oh. Isn't it thrilling to watch somebody else look for things on their computer that you cannot see? This is a lot of them. Yeah, okay. So I will share this. Share.
So Anne is asking what fiber and size do we use? We're using 8-2 cotton almost exclusively, maybe exclusively. And
you've got some cotton, I think, in there, and some cotton hem.
I do?
Yeah, you told me you were using cotton hem in one of them.
Oh, right.
Yes. I think you have some cotton in the gradient.
Nope, I didn't use it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, but you have some 216 in there or something? There was something. Anyway.
Yeah. And our size, they're between 16 and 18 inches wide, and then another third longer is what we're planning on. So if it's 18 inches, then we'd weave 9, so that'd be 27 inches long plus hems is what we're doing.
Did some of them go down to 16? They were originally supposed to be in the 18 to 20 range, but then we played with sets.
Yeah, one of them, yeah, most of them are right around 17 to 18.
We did larger towels. When we weave towels, when I weave towels, and Mom too, we make them larger. So the first time we did Towelpalooza, we made them, I think, 24, 25 inches wide, and people wove them, 150% of that length. But they were just so big that people had trouble weaving 10 of them in 3 days. And they said, please make them smaller. This is overwhelming. So, yeah, they are smaller this time around. So this is one of them. It's, yeah, this is one of them. It's a twill. It's an 8-shaft twill, an 8-shaft diamondy twill, turn twill with a point threading stuff. And so when I send Mom a draft, I always include some weft stripes and some treadling variations so that people have some options, so they can just, there's always a section where it's a single shuttle, single color weave for simplicity. So anybody who's under the gun time-wise can just churn them out. When I send her drafts for Towelpalooza, I should say. So you can weave it as quickly as possible if you don't want to fuss around with changing colors and shuttles and things. So anyway, there's this one. This is actually, I think it's the same thing, but with a different colorway. And we did not choose this colorway. This one is an 8-shaft shadow weave. A few office hours ago, a few months ago, I think maybe even the first year, maybe it was the second one, I shared a book on projects, Scandinavian projects, weaving projects from Scandinavia, something like that. It was a library book, so I don't have it handy to tell you what it was. And this, something very close to this was in that book, except in black and white, not just the picture, it was woven in black and white. So I took that threading and I fiddled with it, because I always fiddle with everything. And then I put colors in and came up with this. This one is Huck lace. So it's like a Huck lace color and weave gamp that is designed in part to use up a surfeit of Bourgogne. Because the first time Mom and I taught Towelpalooza, we somehow managed to order way more of this soft, sort of dusty pinky color than was required. So we have a lot of it left. So it's a Huck lace with colored weave effects going on in there. And again, so there's sections here of this example that shows what happens if you just weave it with a single shuttle, or what happens if you weave it with 2 shuttles. This is the one that makes the most logical sense in the draft if you are looking at it on 20 shafts, but can be reduced to 16, which we did. And it's just a solid color warp, except that
I don't see it, Janet. I don't see it. All I see, I still see the Huck lace one.
Okay, my Mac, I'm looking at the presentation as a viewer as well, and I can see it. So
there it is. Now I
okay,
see it.
just a time delay thing. Did we put the warp contrasting stripes on the edges, Mom, or did we decide to skip it?
There's contrasting on the edges.
Yeah. So this one is a single. You can do it as a single color warp, and it's a single color weft, but we put the last 8 threads or so on either side in a contrasting color, just to make a kind of frame and to finish off some of the boxes so that they made sense somehow. And this is the one I think that's the cotton hemp instead of just cotton, isn't it, Mom? See, now I'm looking over there to my right, because I can see you on that computer, but I can't see you on this one. Yeah,
the warp is cotton hemp.
This one is, I think this might officially be like chorus effect. It is very similar to Turn Takate, but it isn't quite, because Turn Takate has 2 design lines and I use, well, it has 1 echo of the design line and I use 2 echoes of the design line, which I think might make it chorus. But I took a class from Marg. I took Marg's chorus class back in January, and I can't remember if that makes this chorus or not. But it probably is. Anyway, I was just messing with stuff and came up with this. So it was a real experiment, and I was very relieved when Mom wove some samples on it, made sure it actually worked. It looked good in Fiberworks. This is a sort of irregular treadling. The treadling we are going to recommend for people is just a straight old point, so that it's easier to keep track of, because this is a real sort of wibbly wobbly oil slick kind of wire, is that how you say that word? Design, both warp and weft. This one is from a late edition of Weaver's Craft, in which she calls it Atwater Bronson, or just Atwater basket weave. And I was putting it into Fiberworks. It's just a solid color warp and a solid colored weft in Weaver's Craft. And I wanted to jazz it up and make it more interesting. And as I did that and entered this thing, I realized it's deflected double weave. It's deflected double weave with fewer ends per stripe than you often do, but that's what it is. So this one is, we're calling it Atwater basket weave / deflected double weave. This one is 4 shafts. It's 2 gradients interleaved. And the structure is depending on, again, sort of like complementary plain weave, depending on which day of the week it is. You could think of this as being summer and winter, or bumberay, which is just a point twill, or crackle. They're all so closely related on 4 shafts that it's hard to tell what's, it's not really meaningful to say there's a difference between them, except in so far as whether you're using 2 shuttles, which would make it summer, winter, or a single shuttle, except if it's the same yarn and same weight in both shuttles. Does that make it summer, winter, or one of the others? Who knows? So it's bumberay, crackle, summer, winter. And I've just been calling it the bum crack because it's bumberay and crackle and stuff like that. But Mom said we're not allowed to call it that in front of people. So forget you heard me. But 4 shafts, isn't that cool on 4 shafts? This is the one that I was talking about where the stripes are mirrored, the gray. So there's light, dark, and medium gray is mirrored right and left, but the red stripe screws it up for the folded warp. And I couldn't just wind one and have it be repeated, because then you'd have half of the center on the left over here. And this one is, this one is actually really closely related to friendship towels. That draft that you see, it's ubiquitous on the Facebooks. And this is one Ginny's something from Davison, but with our own color ideas and some treadling variations. And these are not the colors that actually went on the loom, but you know, something like this is going to happen. And then I'm back to the beginning. There's a couple others. There's at least one more that Mom designed, so I didn't have the picture of it, but that's most of them, I think.
Yeah, there's the 168 or whatever it is from Strickler that is on a graded warp. And that's it, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to answer Susan's question because it's really fast, and then there's a question for you there, Mom. Susan asked about the cotton hemp. It's like Cotton. It's a 40-60 blend of organic cotton and hemp, and it only comes in natural. and we get it from Broussard. I carry it in the shop too. It's really nice. It's a little bit, it's like cotton, so a little bit hairier than a regular cotton, quite absorbent. It's got a nice hand.
Mhm. How do I change the set of a warp? Well, I usually just take it out of one reed and then reslay. I don't try to do anything fancy between reeds. I just don't find it that difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that's all. I just put my new reed in there and slay it again.
Just like the first time around. Because we warp from back to front, so we normally are slaying from the threads hanging from the heddles anyway. So, and it's, I'm in the same as Mom. I find it way more awkward and fiddly to try to take threads from one reed and put them into another one. And you can only ever do that anyway if there would be the same number of threads in each dent, but from one reed to the next. So if you had, say, 2 per dent in one reed, and you were going to put 1, then 2, 1, then 2, 1, then 2 in the new reed, well, that wouldn't work. I don't think.
No.
I mean, maybe.
Well, I am going to have 2 per dent in the new reed, but again, it's just easier for me to do it like I did it the first time.
All righty. Well, that brings us right bang up to 7:30. So that's it. Thanks everybody for coming. It was good to see you in the chats. Oh, Holly, yes, I think your crackle complimentary plane weave will work. Sure. So yeah, see everybody in a month. That'll be the 3rd Sunday of February. And I don't know what country I'll be in. I have a pretty good idea, but
Yeah, I hope you're here.
I know.
I know you don't know. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.